so today marks the beginning of the 8th annual Immigrant Heritage Month, a nationwide effort throughout June to gather and share and celebrate the inspirational stories of immigrants in America. The White House released a proclamation from President Biden today declaring June National Immigrant Heritage Month, stating, across each generation throughout our history, wave after wave of immigrants have enriched our nation and made us better, stronger, more innovative, and more prosperous. Now, spearheaded by the I Am an Immigrant campaign, the Immigrants Initiative 2021 invites all Americans to explore their heritage while celebrating America's strength reflected in our diversity, built over generations, and the countless contributions immigrants have made. Now, this year's celebration also features some partnerships with companies like DoorDash. In 2019, DoorDash launched its Kitchen Without Borders initiative, which helps support immigrants and refugee businesses. This year, they're celebrating Immigrant Heritage Month by matching all loans on Kiva for immigrant and refugee-owned businesses. For more information, you can visit www.iamanimmigrant.com. Kiva. They're giving loans out to immigrant and refugee-owned businesses. If you are an immigrant, if you're an owner of a business and you're an immigrant and a refugee, check out Kiva, I guess. That's pretty good. It's a nonprofit who gives loans. Also, besides Immigrant Heritage Month, it's also Gay Pride Month. All right? It's celebrated every June. As a matter of fact, I was just telling Jill, I went to Calvin Klein over the weekend because I had to buy some Calvin Klein's, some new undergarments. It's not hump day, underwear. And everything was pride colors. And I'm like, I don't want yellow underwear. I just want plain white. But they're celebrating it too. So, and by the way, on June 28th, 1969, you know where it all started? It started right here in New York City in a gay club in Greenwich Village called the Stonewall Inn. And police raided the Stonewall Inn. It resulted in bar patrons, staff, and neighborhood residents rioting onto Christopher Street. The movement continued over 6 days. They were going to arrest people who were in same-sex club. You weren't allowed to do that in a gay club. So Pride Month is largely credited as being started by bisexual activist Brenda Howard, known as the Mother of Pride. Brenda organized Gay Pride Week and the Christopher Street Liberation Day Parade a year after the Stonewall Riots. Bill Clinton was the first U.S. president to recognize Pride Month in 1999. Barack Obama declared June LGBT Pride Month. And Donald Trump even recognized it, the pumpkin. He even recognized Pride Month with a tweet announcing that his administration had launched a global campaign to decriminalize homosexuality. Today, the White House released a statement from President Biden proclaiming June 2021 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Pride Month. You ever go down to the parades there? The Gay Pride Parade in Greenwich Village? It's pretty crazy.
I covered it 2 years ago.
That's right, I remember.
Another media outlet, yeah.
Yes, I remember.
It's a lot of love.
Yes.
A lot of love, great energy.
A lot of love.
Everybody's happy.
It's a fun day just to even watch and be a bystander. And we have covered, but we covered it too, I believe. I don't know. I don't know if it was you who went down, but somebody covered it. It was somebody else, maybe on the
It wasn't me. Yeah.
But we didn't have it last year, so I don't remember what was done.
It's just so great to see how far history's come. How differently the conversation is now compared to 1969.
I wonder. Maybe Joe can tell me the answer in my ear. I wonder, are they having a gay pride parade this year, or they're still not going to do it?
Oh, right.
They are having it. They are having it, Jill says.
Oh, wow.
They are.
Yes. On June
I think
26th.
that's when New York will feel like New York again, like big crowds,
because that's like
big,
Well,
that's like one of the biggest parades.
Did you see Madison Square Garden with the Knick game was packed, and there was nobody wearing a mask.
It looked crazy.
Yeah, there was nobody wearing a mask there. President Biden, he has outlined his policy changes in a budget that he wants for the Immigration Service that was outlined on Friday. He wants to eliminate any funding for the border wall. He wants to boost spending on care for unaccompanied children, and he wants to overhaul the way the asylum seekers are handled at the Mexican border. He also wants to hire 100 more additional immigration judges so that people could have their removal hearings and their asylum hearings in removal much quicker. Hopefully that's done. Now, advocates have expressed disappointment that there's still tens of thousands of ICE detention beds. Many of them are really unnecessary. These beds are being slept in by people who are just fleeing persecution and don't have any reason to not show up to court and show no reason to harm anybody in a community, but still being held in detention. Meanwhile, Michael Flynn, who was one of the first people convicted of many people who were in the Trump orbit, and also he was pardoned by Donald Trump. He was a former general. He was convicted of lying to federal investigators regarding his connections to Russian and Ukrainian agents. He went to a QAnon question and answer session over the weekend. And when asked a question, I want to know why what happened in Myanmar can't happen here. And in Myanmar, what happened was when the military decided that the election was a fraud, they basically arrested all the democratically elected leaders of Myanmar and took over the entire country. We don't know for sure if it was a fraud or not, but that's what happened. The military took over the country. It was a coup, democratically elected leaders. They said the election was a fraud. And Michael Flynn, who was the national security advisor to Donald Trump until he got arrested, or was supposed to be, he said there is no reason it shouldn't happen here too. A general of the United States of America, former general, a person who would have been the national security advisor, saying in a conference this past weekend that the military should take over the United States because Joe Biden was elected in a fraud and he should be arrested. Can you imagine?
What?
Yeah, what? Like what
yeah.
what
Can
world,
we imagine? We're living this.
What world are we living in here? Right. So after pleading guilty to making false statements to the FBI during the Mueller investigation, Flynn moved to withdraw his plea.
That's insane.
Now, according to CNN, 1 in 10 people charged in the U.S. Capitol insurrection were actually veterans or current servicemen. 10%,
Wow.
45 of the approximate 450 defendants who were arrested in the insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th were military or former military. Does that surprise you?
I was about to say, it doesn't surprise me.
Surprises me. Surprises me.
It surprises you?
Yeah.
That 1 in 10?
Yeah, it surprises me. I would think that there was better training, but I don't know. You know, you would think somebody's in the military that they're, I don't know, that patriotic.
Listen, when
that they are,
if you-
they're I don't know what the word I'm looking for. That they're patriotic. That you know what happens to God, country, family, whatever that saying is in the Marines. You know, having an insurrection in the Capitol and going to try to bring Mike Pence out onto a guillotine and take his head off doesn't seem to me to be very patriotic or putting God, country, that type of, So I think that's the training that I would expect, people in the military to have, and to come out of the military to overthrow the government.
I feel like they felt like they were being patriotic. That's why they were wearing the red, white, and blue. It was just a little extreme, just like religious cults. They feel like they're being, religious and they're actually doing what God wants. But, it's a little extreme. So I think that they thought that they were being patriotic.
Well, yes, absolutely. I just think that, I don't know, just seems to me that what they think and what they were doing is two different things. So it doesn't jive with me. But let's get to coronavirus.
Yes, let's do it.
All right. 135 million Americans are now fully vaccinated. 4 out of 10 Americans fully vaccinated. Today, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, head of the World Health Organization, warned that the coronavirus is deepening divergence in economic fortunes and there's going to be negative consequences for all. I mean, that's been obvious everywhere coronavirus has hit, even here in the United States. The rich have gotten richer, the poor have gotten poorer. And that what you saw in the United States during the pandemic, you're now seeing worldwide. Rich countries will now be getting richer. Poorer countries that are not able to stop the spread of COVID will get poorer. People who were able to make a living electronically by video, those people made money. And people who have to work with their hands, who have to provide a physical service to somebody. Those people were not able to work. They got poorer. So you saw a big divergence in, if you worked on Wall Street versus driving a taxi. You were in management in a company versus the guy who delivered a box. Although that's not a good example because Amazon did well and they were hiring a lot of people. But you were in construction. You're in construction, okay, versus the manager of a company. You were, I don't know, the chef in the restaurant versus, or the woman who works in the store.
Or the server.
The server, yeah. I mean, those people who had to do the physical labor.
Because even if it was still takeout, the chef was still in there, you just didn't need the server anymore.
Right.
For sure.
But the people who had to do the physical labor, and unless you were a frontline worker and you're putting your life in danger at that
essential workers.
point. Right. But other than that, they were staying home. If you weren't able to afford childcare and your children were home out of school, you couldn't work. And then, flip that with people who were able to make money electronically. And you saw the divergence, Jeff Bezos doubled his fortune. Elon Musk, if he didn't double his fortune, came close to it. The rich got richer, the poor got poorer during COVID.
Poor got poorer.
And you're going to see it now in the richer countries getting richer and the poorer countries having problems. You're going to see that worldwide now, unfortunately. Let's get to some Tuesday tea. What flavor do we have today? It's some sort of herbal tea. A lot of people have a lot of varying opinions. I have an opinion you're probably going to disagree with, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, on Naomi Osaka. She announced she was withdrawing from the French Open less than a week after she said she would not speak to the press during the tournament. She posted a withdrawal on Twitter yesterday in which she reiterated her struggles with anxiety, but admitted her message could have been clearer. Osaka's message began, "Hey everyone, this isn't a situation I ever imagined or intended when I posted a few days ago. I think now the best thing for the tournament, the other players, and my well-being is that I withdraw so that everyone can get back to focusing on the tennis going on in Paris. I never wanted to be a distraction. I accept that my timing was not ideal and my message could have been clearer." She said that she did not want to have any press conferences. And when the French Open found out that she did not want to do a press conference, they said they were going to fine her $15,000 for refusing to participate in a press conference every time she played a match, and at some point would disqualify her from the French Open. And she did not go to, or maybe behind the scenes, I don't know, she did not go to the officials of the French Open and say, by the way, I really don't want to do these press conferences. I'm having anxiety issues and blah, blah, blah. As far as I'm aware, unless maybe there's something more to the story, she just decided and announced it on Twitter. Now, why this is a big deal is she's not just a regular tennis player. She's the number 2 player in the world. And she says that the truth is that I've suffered long bouts of depression since the US Open in 2018. I've had a really hard time coping. I get really nervous and find it stressful to always try to engage and give the best answers I can. So, what do you think?
I feel for her.
I feel bad for her. I have both. Then I agree with you.
If you watch her interviews, especially like right after she won, like you can tell she's very socially awkward. She's, you could tell she's an introvert. Especially the Ellen interview. Ellen always tries to bring it out of you because, especially since she was so like quiet and stuff, and you could tell she was just so uncomfortable. And these are interviews she has to do. Mm-hmm. So like to suffer, social anxiety and have to do these interviews. Like, I agree with her. It's better for your mental health to step away, and then when you feel better, then come back. That's her prerogative. Like,
now, to Brad's point, I think it's just the term of like professionalism and communication in that sense, because I totally agree, right? But if it was more of a conversation sooner, then I don't know, maybe things could have gone down differently. Maybe there could have been different arrangements, because they need her to perform. Like, the most important thing for the Open is that she performs. So I felt like that could have been customized.
But also, you have to understand, what is the purpose of a press conference? It's publicity for the tournament. The press conference is to get people to watch the tennis. So if there is no press conference, there is no publicity for the next round. This is a for-profit business at the end. So sports uses press conferences to get people excited to watch a sporting event so that they could make money, and then they could pay the millions of dollars to these athletes. So if they're not willing to do the press conference, it's part of the deal of being a professional athlete. That's how I feel. Okay, so it is. Yo-Yo's looking at me wrong.
Those are big checks, bro.
It has something to do with mental health. You're supposed to go out.
I didn't. Wait. I didn't say that I don't feel bad for her, because I do. Because anybody who has, depression, and anybody who has mental health problems needs help. I'm not arguing any of that. What I'm saying is that, one, what Vanessa said is that she just kind of threw it on them at the end without making any other arrangements. And two, you have to understand, this is a for-profit business. They use the press conferences. If people don't watch the French Open, they don't make money. They can't pay these big, you can't expect, whether you have a mental illness or not, to go play tennis on the big stage at the French Open, say, I refuse to participate in any press conference, but if I win the tournament, I still want all the money. Part of the deal is participating in all of this.
But isn't she not playing? She took herself out.
But that is only a part of being a professional tennis player. It is not just the performance on the court, it's the performance all around, off the court, on the court, press conferences and everything else. It's part.
I understand.
It's part of the deal of being a professional. So
I understand that. For me,
so that's why I feel bad that she has these problems. And having mental health problems is as debilitating as having physical problems. Okay, but to me, having a mental health problem and I'm saying this is as debilitating. It's like trying to play tennis with a broken arm or a broken leg. You can't do it. So if you are disabled physically, you're disabled mentally, you can't be playing as a professional on this level. That's my feeling. But I feel bad for her.
There's just no like in or out of it, because it's like, from one point, right, having so much conversation about like mental health and awareness, like I for sure understand where Yo-Yo's coming from, but I for sure understand that this is also a business, right? Like, when people go into the league, and then it would almost be a disservice to the world if she would have not be so young and so talented and like had gone all the way, right? But like, when you take that step into becoming a professional athlete, like, you're stepping into a business. And I have a lot of friends like in leagues, and it's kind of the same thing.
Well, you see, this is exactly what leads
kind of sign your soul to the devil. Entertainers,
all of that. This is what leads them to drugs, suicide, depression, all of that, because they feel like they have to live for the world. Right. If she felt like she couldn't do it, she couldn't do it. Like, when you go and do a commercial, you're getting paid because that brand is going to make money off of it. She's not going to be playing this year. So like, why would she go to the press conference to make them money?
No,
like, she gets paid for that. She doesn't.
That's not what happens.
If she doesn't want to do it, she shouldn't have to. That's the thing.
Right. She doesn't have to. But what I'm saying is,
if it's not signed in like the contract, like.
But what I'm saying is that it's part of the deal of being the professional is to do the press conference and do the publicity, just like part of the deal of making a movie is to go and do all the interviews before the movie comes out. All right?
I agree with.
It's the same thing. It's building publicity for the product that you're selling. And by the way, Sasha Ford says she supports her. I support her. I'm not saying I don't support
her too.
No, nobody doesn't support her. All I'm saying is you have to deal with your emotional problems, and it's a disease like anything else, and you have to deal with it, and then get back onto the court. You can't have it both ways. Say, I'm going to play tennis, but I'm not going to participate in everything. You can't do it, not as a professional at that level. That's what I'm saying.
Is she saying that she's going to play?
She said she was going to play, but didn't want to participate in any of the other press conferences because she is very, she doesn't want to deal with the press, especially now the press is hostile to her. Also, because she, if you remember, which tournament was it? It was one of the tournaments. The U.S. Open 2018, she wore 7 different then it was last year. She wore 7 different masks that had Breonna Taylor, Elijah McClain, Ahmaud Arbery. So she became political on the tennis court. And when she became political on the tennis court, I'm not saying her politics is wrong. She just became political on the tennis court. And then now, because she took a political stand, the press was more aggressive with her, which I assume got her very, very anxious, which for, how old is she? 20, 21-year-old? Not even.
She was super young.
Can you imagine the pressure?
Super young. All right. Plus the pressure of playing tennis. Okay. The pressure of being number 2 of the practice schedule and everything. It is absolutely
the Nike deals.
A pressure cooker. Nobody says it's not. And trust me, I feel bad for her. Okay, but just from my perspective, what you can't do is just say, I'm going to play tennis, but I'm not going to participate in anything else. You got to do the whole thing, and if you can't, then you got to take some time off and reevaluate what you're doing, how you're doing it, and everything else.
So should she have just said, I'm not going to play at all?
Yes.
Instead of, I'm not going to do the press conference.
But that's what she eventually did, but she didn't want to do it in the beginning.
But she should have started off like that.
Correct.
Right, because low key, it's like she's trying to have her cake and eat it too.
Right.
But
correct.
That's not that. It's not that. How are you gonna say she's trying to have her cake and eat it too when she can't physically go to these? She will have a breakdown.
But then
every time she goes to the arrangement now should have been it from the beginning.
But it should have just been like I just
feel like it's just so easy for people who don't have mental anxiety or mental breakdowns or don't have depressions. It's so much easier to talk for them. That's all I'm saying.
I'm on her side. I'm on her side. I'm just saying you can't as a professional.
You're on her side, and I would be on her side full throttle. I'm like, I understand where she's coming from. I stand with her. That's all I'm saying. I stand with her.
I'm glad you do stand with her. I'm happy about that. I stand with her too. I'm just saying that you can't say this is where the controversy was. The controversy was
happening right now.
Okay, the controversy was not that she has some sort of anxiety and fear of the press and mental, issues that need to be resolved. Okay, that's not, and whether she's playing the issue was that she took it upon herself as the number 2 tennis player in the world to say, I'm gonna, for all intents and purposes, I'm gonna take a power play because the French Open needs me more than I need the French Open. And I'm going to say, I'm not doing press conferences because it makes me anxious and there's nothing they're going to do about it because they want me in the French Open. I'm the number 2 player in the world. And
need you.
Right.
They want you. They need
you. Right.
They needed her.
Right. And the French Open said, yes, we want you. Yes, we need you. But we need you to do everything else that everybody else is doing, which is do the press conferences, which publicizes our tournament, which gets eyes on the tournament. All right, what is the news going to say? What is the news going to talk about? News and press is free advertising. That's how they do it. So,
I just think of the fact that the reason why she started tennis is because that is her safe zone. That is where she feels at home. That is her love. And for you to have something that can take away from that love, like this smile right here, It goes right away. There's no smile right when she goes to interviewing. It takes it away. So, I understand why she said, I can play tennis. That's why I did this in the first place. I'll show my talents to the world. This is where I feel safe. But when you go out to the media is super, super rough and they don't care about your well-being. They're going to ask these crazy questions and then they're going to take that little part of the interview, make it a headline. It's right. Always, it's a lot. But the entire world.
But there's a business here, and part of the business is doing the press conference. So you just can't say I'm going to go do half my job and expect to get paid full. That's what I'm saying, and then tell your boss this is what I'm going to do. You can't. I mean, because the boss is the French Open.
Agree to disagree.
But we're with her all the way.
But we're all on her. We're all on her.
We're all on her.
By the way, I knew when we started that you and I were going to disagree. And I knew Vanessa would be in the middle, like, well,
No, I'm going to stand my ground.
All right, by the way, I think this says it all, by the way, and I think we would all agree with this. Martina Navratilova, you know who she is, former #1 tennis player in the world, said, I am so sad about Naomi Osaka. I truly hope she will be okay. As athletes, we are taught to take care of our body, and perhaps the mental and emotional aspect gets short shrift. This is about more than doing or not doing a press conference. Good luck, Naomi. We're all pulling for you.
Yes. At the end of the day, we all want her to be better.
I want her to be better, and I want to see her play tennis.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't talked about the Kardashians in a while.
She did not pass the baby bar after 1 year of law school and suggested to her sisters she is now reconsidering her journey to becoming a lawyer. In certain states, you have to pass a baby bar exam after
she was on that.
Yeah, after your first year of law school to get to the second year, to be allowed to go take year number 2. You have to pass year number 1. She didn't pass.
I feel bad for her. Because she actually is doing work. I'm not going to hold you. At first, when she came out and said she wanted to be a lawyer, I was like, what? But then the people that she's gotten out of jail is a lot more than other people who haven't helped,
Well, she got people out of jail. And by the way, I give her all the credit and
started their whole lives.
I give her all the credit for doing that. So I don't take any credit away from doing that. But getting people out of jail, she did not use any legal savvy to do it. She used her connections and her platform, which I give her.
Right.
I give her all the props for it. Okay, but she didn't do actual lawyer work to get people out of jail. She just did. I'm a celebrity. I have a platform. I know people, and I'm going to connect people to people, and I'm going to keep talking about it until somebody listens to me. That is a big difference than going to law school, doing the work, being a lawyer. I mean, in all.
But imagine what she would have done if she did.
In all, deference to Kim Kardashian, I don't think, somebody would get arrested and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to call Kim Kardashian to be my lawyer. I don't think, would you want us standing up for you?
Listen, you never know. If she has that much pull without being a lawyer, well, think about the pull that she'll have once she becomes a lawyer.
Well, there's a difference between pull and making an argument before a judge. Those are two different things.
I mean, but
I just think the reality of she thought it would be easy to be a lawyer. It's not as easy as you would think.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
Yeah, she said she spent 6 weeks straight, 10 to 12 hours a day studying, and she did not pass.
I feel bad for her.
You feel bad for her.
That's okay, Kim. That's okay.
You're
doing great, sweetie.
Do I feel bad for her?
Great, sweetie. Yeah, she tried.
I'm sure she tried. It's hard to feel bad for her, but yes, she did try. I don't feel good. I don't feel good that she didn't. There's a difference between.
Right.
There's a difference between saying, I'm not happy that sure, why not?
Listen, if she wanted,
but to say I feel, I don't. It's hard. But it's hard to feel bad for Kim Kardashian.
Well, it's a human being. I've become a person of just like putting myself in their shoes. If she wanted to become a lawyer to do good for the community, I'm here for it. Like, I'm here for it.
All right. Do we want to talk about Lizzo or Chrissy Teigen? Last one. Vanessa.
I mean,
Lizzo.
those are tough. I love them both.
Who?
But Lizzo,
talk about Lizzo, because that's a good little.
All right. So what's going on with celebrity fitness guru Jillian Michaels. She's not backing down from the viral clip from January 2020 appearance on BuzzFeed's AM to DM. The Biggest Loser coach said of Lizzo during the interview, "Why are we celebrating her body? Why does it matter? Because it isn't going to be awesome if she gets diabetes."
Oh, that's what we're not going to do.
Yeah.
That is for sure what we're not going to do.
So listen, not saying that I agree with what she said at all, but hear me out here. What she was trying to say.
Are we going to disagree again?
No.
Okay.
No, because I see what she was saying with, okay, we're so used to just like, body positivity and celebrating who you are and just loving the skin you're in. I think that she was wrong with how she delivered it. You should always love the skin that you're in, we're supposed to support each other. But you had people like Monique, who was a really, really, really big in weight comedian, who would always shun and like talk smack on skinny girls and like, oh, you need a big girl, all you skinny girls shut up type of stuff. And when that health started deteriorating, she changed the whole script and she started working out, eating healthy. Like now that's her thing. She's all skinny, happy, and excited. So my thing was, I don't think we should really be celebrating the fact that, you're not taking care of your body and, actually like celebrate health, and Lizzo celebrates being comfortable in her skin. So that is, that's what we should always do. But what I think that the fitness guru or whatever was trying to say was, it's not healthy. We're kind of teaching, like, say there's obese kids. You're looking up to, celebrities that are big, and you're like, okay, it's okay for me to be obese, but it's not, especially in the Black culture with high blood pressure, hypertension, all of that.
In a way, I think I agree with you.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I would say this, and tell me if this is what you're saying. Okay, if we go back to Naomi Osaka and about having mental health issues, okay, I think it's great that Lizzo celebrates her body and she feels good within her skin, because many people who are overweight don't and have mental issues similar to Naomi Osaka, maybe from different perspective, but similar mental issues, because they don't feel good about themselves, they don't feel good about their body, they then get depressed, they then get sad, they get anxious because they eat something that they shouldn't have eaten, and blah, 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 blah. So it's good that Lizzo has good mental health. And I think for somebody who is obviously overweight, that is a good attribute to have. And I think that's what is the celebration there.
Absolutely.
Obviously, having extra weight is always unhealthy. You can ask any doctor in the world. Is that what you're saying?
I think we're all.
Absolutely. That's all I'm saying. You have, just like I said, Monique, she celebrated her weight. She celebrated her eating style. She celebrated her lifestyle of just eating whatever she wanted until, she got sick and she had to lose the weight. So it's like, are you really celebrating that lifestyle, or are you just celebrating loving the skin that you're in? If you're celebrating loving the skin that you're in, that's fine. But then you have all these kids that are obese and they're like, well, I can be like Monique because she loves being big and she loves to eat, but secretly she doesn't. So she's just saying that because that's what she, that's the life she's living. Until now she's skinny. She's skinnier than she was, and she's like, oh, I love my new body, and she's wearing all these new clothes and stuff. It's a whole different script from just 10 years ago.
What do you think, Vanessa? Because you have your Instagram account, and your Instagram account is all about fashion and feeling good and health and beauty, and you're obviously not overweight, and you show your skin too sometimes, and you're attractive woman. And What do you think from this whole entire thing?
I love the angle that Yo-Yo took on this entire thing, because what needs to be clear here is like what Lizzo's intention is. Monique was like such a perfect example, Yo-Yo, and like only you could do that. So I'm so glad that you initiated that, because she was like, that did take me back to those 2000 comedies where it was like, or even like a Good Burger, right? Like that whole culture was just like a whole thing. And yeah, like it's about being confident in your own skin, but I feel like anything else, and we're all adults here, like the guru should have checked out how she was going to say that before she said it. We get like anything else. Not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it, because we're all in agreement here that we shouldn't celebrate the unhealthy eating habits or unhealthy case, but sometimes it's even, everybody has different explanations. It'll be hormonal. Others have a harder time losing weight or whatever. But wherever you are in your process, just feel comfortable in your skin. And like, that's Lizzo's brand.
She just shouldn't have pinpointed Lizzo. You know, that was the issue. Like, she shouldn't have taken Lizzo as an example. If you're going to talk about,
say general people who are overweight
exactly,
look to lose weight.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Rather than point finger at one person to make them feel bad
that
about
part.
Themselves. Meanwhile, I just want to get back. I just see a comment here on YouTube by 1876 Grocery Store, who I guess is a call 1876 Grocery Store for all your grocery needs. But says, Uncle Brad, I don't know this for a fact, but let's assume grocery store is correct. Isn't it ironic that the president of the French tournament has refused to speak to the press on the issue? Shouldn't he be fined now too? And the answer is yes, he should speak. Absolutely. He should. I first read this that.
I love that.
If that's the case, yes, he should speak. Yes, he should.
I love that.
I first thought it was the president of France. And I'm like, well, no, the president of France doesn't have to speak on this. It has nothing to do with him. But then I'm reading it. The president of the French tournament. If that is the case, then yes, he should be.
Love it.
He should absolutely. You can't. Have one without the other. This has now become part of the French Open, and the president of the French Open of the tennis tournament needs to come out and have a press conference on it, and he should. Absolutely.
I agree.
So I wouldn't say it's ironic. It's wrong. He needs to. And then also, I don't know if this is a fact, but if it is, good for her. 876 Grocery seems to know a lot about this. Naomi made $55 million last year, so she'll be okay. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.